Okay. Good. Really quiet all of a sudden. Wonderful. Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Hope you are
Okay,
all.
everyone all at once. Good morning.
Can you tell that my parents are teachers? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the July Manhattan Borough Board meeting. Today is July 16th, and I call this meeting to order at 8:50 a.m. I do see that we are recording. Thank you to members of the public that are joining us. Please continue to join us at future meetings. I do want to acknowledge that we are also joined by the council member, although I think we've stepped out. Councilmember Maloney is here. So thank you. Oh, okay.
There she is.
Yeah. Hi. And then we are also joined by Commissioner Lisa Garcia, who will provide her presentation later. Thank you. Okay. With that, I'd like to make, is there a motion on the floor to adopt, roll call, CB1?
Good morning.
Good morning, wonderful, CB2. Okay, CB3. CB4. Here. Okay, CB5.
Hi, I'm David Sigmund. I'm subbing in for Brad Sherman.
Welcome, David. CB6.
Justin Goldberg, I'm subbing in for Sam.
Welcome, thank you, CB6. CB7.
Here.
Good to see you, Alex. CB8. CB9.
Good morning.
Good morning, Victor. CB10.
Dulcinea Glover for Marquise Garrison.
Good to see you, Dulcinea. CB11. And then CB12.
Here.
Wonderful. Good to see everyone. With that, could I get a motion on the floor to adopt the July 16, 2026 Borough Board agenda, please?
That's okay.
Great. Is there a second? Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion? I do want to, as we talked about the Borough Board minutes, there was a submission that was provided. It was acknowledged and updated and for our records. But is there a motion now on the floor to adopt the June 25th, 2026 Borough Board minutes?
As amended, yes.
Great. Thank you, Patty. Second?
I second.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful. And with that, we will move on to the report from our Manhattan Borough President.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. It's good to see everyone. Happy summer. We're kind of in the thick of it, including the smoke from wildfires to the north and extremely hot weather. Our office is a cooling center. If there are constituents you want to direct to anyone in Lower Manhattan, but it's so important. And I know the council member agrees. She has a lot of older New Yorkers in her district, but this is a precarious time, given the weather. But I wanted to first acknowledge all of our interns who we have with us, who have been, intern is a really kind of described word. I like, maybe they're fellows or scholars or something like that. Probably feels a bit better. But I don't know if you just, and I know I've asked you this in every meeting you're in, but it's so instructive to our guests. If you could just tell us who you are and where you're from and where you go to school. Thank you.
My name is Sally. I graduated from Fordham University this spring.
Yes.
Nice speech.
And you're interning from, if you could also share, if I may, what unit you're interning with and very briefly what you're working on.
Thank you.
Yeah, I am interning for this unit with Mario and Furio. Currently I'm working on mapping fire hydrants in Manhattan parks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cynthia. I'm a rising sophomore at Georgetown, so Brooklyn, New York.
Georgetown.
What
if you guys gonna come up with?
I'm just with Caroline at our budget team, and right now I'm doing kind of wrapping up our flash grant process, which we just rolled out over the past month, and doing some evaluation for that, as well as working with Alejandro, doing some help.
My name is Alina. I'm a rising senior at College High School, and I'm working with the Hoylman-Sigal department. And right now I'm doing some research on the downtown revitalization initiative.
Hi, I'm Angelina Smith. I am the C. Virginia Fields Health Policy Fellow. I just graduated my master's in public health from the CUNY Graduate School of Public Health. And I am currently working on some diabetes prevention research.
Hi, I'm Raj. I'm going to be a writing senior at Queen's College. I'm from Bangladesh, but now a resident of the Borough. I intern with the constituent services unit, but mostly handling calls, tabling events, and listening to concerns.
Oh, sure. I'm Leo Bond. I'm a rising editor at high school. I'm with the special events section. And right now I'm working on sort of evaluating community boards for history and future.
Hello, my name is George Levy. I'm a rising junior at Great District High School up on Astor Place. I'm with the special events team and I'm working on expanding subway accessibility in the borough of Manhattan.
My name is Roy Katz, I'm the rising junior at the Fulton School over in Union Square. I'm working with the special events unit, and I'm currently working on the taking pictures sponsorship.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrew LeFleur. I'm a rising sophomore at Stuyvesant High School. And I'm with the special events team with these guys, and I'm working on a civic map to help future interns understand the role of the Manhattan Borough President's office.
If I could have that too, I'd be.
Hi, I'm Samantha. I'm the rising senior at the University of Michigan. And I'm in the policy unit and I'm working on a mental health outreach database because there's currently no collective list of all the mental health resources. Last University of Toronto in so many years. I'm looking into board attendance policies and.
She was the boss.
I'm Samantha and I'm sophomore at Barnard College.
Yay!
Yeah, and I'm also with the fifth years unit.
I'm a rising junior at top. I'm also with the policy team and I'm doing a bunch of research about civic education in the New York City DOE system. And what programs we have. And I actually used to be a part of community board parties, so I feel well.
That's really great. Thank you. We're gonna have a round of applause for the.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Diana, I am the group messenger fellow.
Yeah.
And I'm a PhD candidate at the Graduate Center, and my project this summer is helping open a group welcome center in Harlem. Also working on telephone research and representatives.
Thank you. And I'm Brad Hoylman-Sigal. I'm interning for Marielle. But thank you guys, and I just put you on the spot, but you were able to articulate your work project extremely well. So that's really just a couple of things. I've been working with the council member and her team on the Legionnaires outbreak. I think the city response has honestly been really fulsome. They've kept us well informed. I know the speaker asked for more information about specific buildings and they provided that. I get an email from Ricky, it seems like, at least every 24 hours about the outbreak. So I wanted to compliment that effort and thank you for it. But we're continuing to stay on top of it. In addition, not in your district, but adjacent is the Pfizer.
That is in my.
That is in your district.
Yeah.
In your district is the Pfizer building.
Yeah.
She's been having, the council member's having a busy summer. And we've been engaged on that front as well. One thing that we may need to reassess and create is the what Gail Brewer had, the building construction safety task force that's on the agenda, but we'll talk about that later. And obviously we are all focused on commercial or office to residential conversions. We clearly won't see that as part of the effort by the city to get buildings online for residents. There are at least 90 projects, as I understand it, 14 thousand?
17,000.
17,000 units online potentially. Obviously, we have to do it safely, and I know that we're all in agreement on that front. I wanted to comment that we weighed in along with many of you here on the issue around term limits for district managers. We issued a letter and testimony that was read capably by General Counsel John Weinberg at the council hearing. John, have we seen any updates on that front, either on that charter issue or the other one, which was about council members and appointments?
Neither measure has moved. We don't anticipate any significant movement. We have not seen any other members sign on to either bill. In fact, we've seen members come off the appointment bill, which in our view would require a voter approval via referendum regardless. So we understand why the hearing took place. We appreciate many of you and your managers gave testimony at the hearing as well. Chair Brewer was grateful, and we don't anticipate any additional movement on either legislation at this time.
Thank you so much. On the issue of area of housing and affordability, I know Esther, Caroline, and helped prepare testimony for the rent guidelines board along with Alejandro. Do either of you want to talk about briefly what the rent guidelines board decided and what our role moving forward?
Yeah, so I'm sure you all know, the rent guidelines board voted for a rent freeze for 1 and 2 year leases for New York City. So that is aligned with what we testified for. I honestly don't have to share much to this room. I think you all are pretty familiar with the issue and the situation. Obviously, we want to make sure that small buildings especially, have the resources that they need to maintain their housing stock. We just don't think that that should be on the backs of tenants. We think that the city and the state need to make sure that the resources are available for sustained affordability instead of rising prices. So we're really glad to see that the RGB voted in favor.
Thank you. Alejandro Correa, anything to add to that?
Yeah, just a reminder, if you come across tenants in your districts that are living in physically or financially distressed buildings that are experiencing problems with their landlord, our office is a resource that is there for you. But yeah, I'll give you my contact information if you want support or actually support, but I'm really happy to go around with the move of people.
Thank you. And more testimony was issued to HUD on what would be a proposed rule barring shelters from housing transgender folks in the spaces according to their gender identity. Any comment on that?
Yeah, sure. So this was a comment to HUD. I'm sure you all remember the previous comment to HUD on mixed immigrant status families in NYCHA. I'll say typically our practice is to make sure you all can join us in these comments. We actually only found out about the regulation pretty late, so not enough time to share it amongst all, but we issued comment. The rule would basically redefine sex across all of HUD's regulations as, quote, an immutable biological classification, which would in practice mean that shelters and other types of housing, emergency housing, vouchers, et cetera, that receive HUD dollars may not be able to house people according to their gender identity. Now, we're not sure whether this would preempt state and local law. Obviously, Brad passed agenda in the state, which makes it illegal to discriminate on gender identity, and we're not yet sure how this would play against that, but we don't want it to pass, obviously, regardless of its specific impact in New York City, but we'll be following that closely, and you can read our comment in this folder.
So the testimonies in your packet, along with the testimony around capital reports to NYCHA, from NYCHA rather, so that elected officials like the councilmember and I can get money into NYCHA without having been told that it's not useful or possible.
Yeah, I think we spoke about that at the last
Okay.
Borough board meeting, actually, but we did hear back from NYCHA that we'll have a meeting shortly, so hopefully we have an update soon on that.
Yeah. And then I think you all know that we submitted our testimony to the mayor's executive budget. We testified before the city council in support of more housing protections. And our recommendations are in your packet. We also testified before the Charter Revision Commission. You've been pretty busy, Esther. What about the issue of Manhattan versus other boroughs when it comes to capital funding? Do we know this issue? Well, you know.
Well, we've spoken about it certainly in this room. We testified in front of the commission, both on some building code reform and also on the way that the charter delegates capital funds discriminates against Manhattan in its formula to delegate capital funds between the boroughs. So right now, it disfavors density because it's an equal weighting of land area and nighttime population. Manhattan has a much larger daytime population relative to its nighttime population. Obviously, we have so many commuters, folks who come into the borough, both to use our services and also to work here. And also, we're very dense, which is a good thing, we think. And also reflects how much capital dollars we need to spend to support the different institutions in Manhattan. So the way the formula is right now, we get pretty much the same amount of money as that.
Not to mention us having more culture.
Yeah, we have more cultural institutions. I think the key thing here is that so many people utilize Manhattan institutions and services, just that not this shit. Yeah, we're very chill about this, but it really is unfair. And for what we did this past year, where we dedicated $50 million to arts and cultural institutions, we had allocations that were closer to Brooklyn or Queens that would probably be closer to $80 million. So it makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference. And I think we heard like a very strong response there were many people at that public hearing, and the public seemed also very surprised by that allocation. So hopefully we'll see some movement there.
And we have we've commissioned the independent budget office to investigate this disparity. I say investigate, they're just writing a report.
They're investigators.
They're investigators out. And they're going to dig into this issue and hopefully present a report soon. Speaking of budget allocations and our commitment to arts and culture, any update on the Manhattan multiplier?
We are so for those who don't remember, we haven't talked about it enough, our Manhattan multiplier is our effort for everyone that we granted funds to, every organization that we granted funds to through capital funding. We also set a challenge for them to internally raise or match a portion of the funds that we allocated to them. And at this point, we are around $15 to $16 million in that effort. So what we sort of done is leverage our $50 million capital allocation, which is not fair, to make it closer to 65 or hopefully $70 million in actual effect. So that effort keeps going. We'll keep you all updated on that, but we're really excited to see that this sort of model is working, and something that we can continue to apply to like public-private partnerships.
So those of you of a certain generation, we call it the Manhattan multiplier, but I've come across a new description, which is hamburger helper. I don't know if that lands with everyone here. Definitely not the. Thank you. Thank you. We're making your ground beef go further. Your tax dollars. And we'll close with quality of life, which is another important area around our work. And I know the council member probably has the most information about the issue around horse carriages in yesterday's hearing on that front. But I'm going to throw it back to Esther again to discuss this in-depth report. You thought we went deep into dog waste? We went even deeper into horse carriages.
Yeah, so I'm sure this is another issue folks are familiar with. Obviously, tragically, a young man was killed just I think last month in a horse carriage accident. It's not the first time folks have raised concerns around the horse-drawn carriage industry. There have been several horses who have died. There are several incidents that have resulted in human injury in the past. So anytime there's a death, obviously that makes it so that we really need to, understand what's going on and reevaluate how the industry is operating. So we wanted to do that in a data-driven way and understand like the sober statistics behind this. So we were, not having advanced mathematicians necessarily on our team. We decided to partner with a professor from Columbia, professor of mathematics, to create a forecast model based on data that we gathered through DOHMH data, some advocate reports and news reporting online to understand what that historical data tells us about what we can expect to see in the future. And we found that through the end of 2030, unfortunately, we'd be looking at anywhere between 16 to 30 more serious horse-drawn carriage incidents and upwards of 11 more dead horses. So
by 2030.
By 2030. Obviously, it's a forecast. We can't make utter predictions, but that was, I think, a clear finding that something needs to change. And we're glad to see that the council is moving on that.
And we presented that yesterday. And maybe this is an opportunity to allow Councilor Maloney to speak on that issue and anything else that concerns the borough.
So we had a very long day at the council yesterday, hearing testimony. And I thought the most moving for me and for a lot of New Yorkers was hearing from his family, both in person, his aunt was there, and then his family was zoomed in to give really painful testimony, but very important to have on the public record. I think we're up to, I don't know what the overnight count is, but there were 26 council members who had signed on to passing the bill. So it's looking like it's moving forward. Other bills we're voting on today and stated, one is to address the pay parity issue with paraprofessionals. So we're hoping to bring up that salary, which is at $30,000 for someone who's with our most difficult, most vulnerable students, and we really want to ensure that they're paid a lot more. And then another bill, which is on reducing red tape for small businesses that are trying to open up in New York City. So I'm excited about both of those. The other big update from the past few weeks is our budget. So the city council passed our budget in the nick of time, right before July 1st deadline. I was there until like 10 p.m., something like that. But there are a lot of wins for Manhattan in that budget. As co-chair of the Manhattan delegation, we were with Councilmember Carmen De La Rosa able to secure $46 million for the borough. Some of the highlights. One in my district I'm very excited about is $25 million for the Bellevue Hospital Center to both modernize their existing beds and expand. So 50 additional beds. That funding is across 2 years and is much needed for the whole city, but certainly important to Manhattan. We have $3.5 million for accessibility upgrades, including a new entrance at the Met, which will have an elevator and be much more accessible for families and people with disabilities. The CUNY Graduate Center as well is getting accessibility upgrades. 2.5 for Lincoln Center, 7 million for Riverbend Houses was part of the fight from the Manhattan delegation. So there's lots of good stuff in there. We're excited about the budget. At a higher level, we fought for city best, so to expand the housing vouchers and New York City Kids Rise, so that New York City students and public school students can start saving early and pay for college. And 30 million for our cultural institutions, many of which are based in Manhattan. Beyond that, we've already hit many of the plagues of District 4, air quality and heat issues. Everyone stay safe over the next few days. We're all, I know with Valerie leading the charge for Community Board 8, keeping everybody informed about Legionnaire's disease.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Valerie has asked, but
Valerie
has asked tough questions and many tough questions on those Zooms, so thank you.
progress. We had 800 people on our first town hall. Webinar with less than 24 hours notice from the city, which is great. And then we had 200 people in a room the next time. So we're really getting people out.
Required to have under 24 hours notice.
Well, no, I mean, this is a town hall.
It's a town hall.
I mean, this is the city just saying, hey, we're gonna have a town hall tomorrow,
Yeah.
so.
We've been helping
Yeah, everybody's.
get the word out, so it's been a real group effort on the east side and across the borough.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree, commending the administration also for the transparency that we've gotten this time around, with more frequent updates. And then the Pfizer building, partial building collapse, but everything is secure there, and we are going to follow up with the Department of Buildings on the investigation to figure out exactly what went wrong there, ensure that our building standards are strong enough. And then the last issue is encampments that are popping up across the city, and I'm also working with the Borough President's office on this, but in Community Board 6, the FDR 23rd Street encampment has bubbled over into public safety concern. So we did a town hall with Waterside Plaza and are trying to work towards helping address some of the security concerns there. So I think the locusts are the last thing we can expect, right?
Maybe frogs, I don't know, I can see frogs falling.
And
I have some boils on my.
If the interns haven't gone to City Hall yet, I've organized a City Hall tour.
Is that happening?
Oh, it already did. You're ahead of the game. But thank you for all of your work, and thank you to our president.
Thank you very much. And speaking of Pfizer, I don't know if our Director of Land Use and Planning or our Director of Intergovernmental Relations have anything to comment on office to residential conversion and like our position on how important that is.
We've pressed, hi everyone, Emily Bachman, Director of Land Use and Planning. We have pressed DOD to help us understand the Pfizer partial collapse in the context of the office to residential conversion movement, which is a very important source of new housing in Manhattan. And they have explained to us, and I think it makes sense, that the Pfizer building is more an issue of the expansion, the vertical and horizontal expansion of the building, and not necessarily emblematic of the conversion, which just means change of use. So conversion of office to residential doesn't necessarily mean making a building bigger. It often means just changing the use and changing the format of the existing structure. So I think that makes sense, and I think we push them still to understand like where there are building expansion and adaptive reuse of existing structures. How can we make sure that this doesn't happen again? And we will be following up on that.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, sure, of course.
Do we know I mean, this is just columns that we're stabilizing, right? So these are like fundamental pillars of when you build, additioning up. Do we know anything about, was it non-union workers? Do we know anything? Was it rushed to build? Like, what do we?
They're still investigating that.
We have no idea.
Not yet.
They're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're also investigating other construction across the city done by the same developer and the same workers. Yeah.
Thank you. And then on Tuesday, we had a town hall with 400 people around the issue of Penn Station and what to many people is a very important focus, which is through running. Our Director of Intergovernmental Relations, can you describe what the takeaways from that event were?
I think it was really impressive that only in Manhattan can we get so many people to show up. Of commuter rail. I think it was, I think that the main conclusion is that we need to implement through running in some form. And that it's gonna help the larger region, it's gonna.
What is through running?
Through running is a ride, from New Jersey to either Westchester or Long Island. The same way that Amtrak trains running from DC to Boston or vice versa, pass through Penn Station, do the same for our commuter train. Lots of which already do if they're going to, say, the Hudson Yards Rail Yard for LIR on the west side, or to Sunnyside in Queens for New Jersey Transit trains. And in a couple of years, we're also going to have Metro North trains coming into Penn Station through the Penn Station Access Project. So this is a way where lots of other cities do this. The main example in the US would be Philadelphia, but also Paris, most German cities. If you've been to London, the Elizabeth line is a great example of this, where commuter trains pass through the urban center, able to connect the surrounding areas, and also provide a fast, frequent service within the metro area. So you could have more service, say, to parts of Queens along the Port Washington line. And it would also be an opportunity to actually integrate the three different systems we have right now, where if you want to go from, say, Trenton to Mineola, you have to buy 2 separate tickets, ride 2 separate trains, there's 2 separate systems. And it really makes sense to say, how can we combine that? It's a lot easier said than done on any number of levels. This panel is starting to think through how can we make that happen, where we actually have the infrastructure to make it happen. It's more about it's just as much a political problem, but how can we start to think through that? We had a really excellent panel.
What were the different positions? You had Byford speaking, and then you had RPA and 2 other representatives. So how did they wash out?
Yeah, so I think RPA, Regional Plan Association, and we were lucky to have Tom Wright, the head of the organization, argues that you need to expand capacity at Penn Station. And so they want to demolish, their plan is to demolish the block south of Penn Station to install more tracks and platforms. And that with the gateway tunnels also coming online in around 5 years, that you'll just need more space at Penn Station in addition to the reconstruction plan that Andy Byford is leading now. Andy Byford thinks that you can actually do a good amount of through running with the current setup at Penn Station once his Penn transformation project is complete. And actually last night, the Federal Railroad Administration, the FRA, released a study that backed up his point, that said you actually could increase the current throughput of trains at Penn Station by adding more stairways to the tracks. One of the big issues right now is, everyone knows those platforms at Penn Station are really narrow, and it takes a lot of sense to get people up the platform and down, and they'll only post the track that you're at once the train is already there.
Is the FRA going to specifically look at through running?
It did. They have, yes.
There's a second phase that will dig deep.
And there's a second phase that they're going to dig deeper on.
Yeah, but they were, so right now with around 24 trains per hour come through Penn Station. This would, the FRA study last night said it would go up to around 32 hours.
So our town hall prompted the federal government to act.
Yes.
Good.
So something big is going to happen. The federal government, Andy Byford, who's leading the project, is hearing everywhere. He's a strong supporter of it. I think there's further details that are going to be dependent on public feedback. I know there's a Penn Station working advisory meeting today, and that the decisions require that New Jersey Transit, the MTA, and the city and the state to all work together.
Thank you, and just a shout out, she's not here, but Kiara Royer put together that amazing town hall, so let's give her a round of applause and have thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Borough President. Would you want to go for a few minutes for questions?
I think we're good.
I do want to acknowledge that we've been joined by CBA Chair Valerie Meekley. I also want to acknowledge that we are also joined online by Chanel Elliott from CM Epstein's office. I see Bryce as well online from Councilmember Maloney's office. We also have Adam from Councilmember Encarnacion's office and Heba from Councilmember De La Rosa's office. Thank you for joining us. All right. So just now moving on to our presentation today. So and I know that my colleague Don will just give a moment to show the slides. But thank you, Commissioner, for joining us this morning to provide an overview of environmental protection in the borough.
Great, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. And everyone else. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the New York City Department of Environmental Protection. I am Lisa Garcia, the commissioner. I was appointed in February by Mayor Mamdani. It's a wonderful opportunity for me to serve in this role. Oh, okay. So who's doing the slides?
My colleague Dawn.
Okay, Dawn, can you hear okay if I just say next?
Dawn,
yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Thank you so much for your help. I appreciate it. Okay, next.
Thanks, Dawn.
Okay, so I am, just by way of background, before this, I was, for about a year, I was teaching at NYU and Columbia University, at the law schools there. Next slide. I'm originally from this area and, I worked before that, I was serving at EPA as the regional administrator there. For Region 2, which is a few blocks away here, but it was New York, it is New York, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, the US Virgin Islands, and 8 Indian nations, mainly in upstate New York. And so it was a wonderful opportunity for me to serve in that administration. I also worked in the Obama administration as the head of environmental justice, where we created EJ Screen. Of course, this administration pulled down that map, but it was a map showcasing across the country where we have some of the areas in the country that are overburdened by pollution or siting of polluting facilities. And so my work across the years has really focused on how do we create equity in environmental work and stewardship. And so I bring that to this new job at DEP. Next slide. So some of the priorities for DEP, for those, especially for the interns, you may come across environmental agencies, and many times they're the ones who are implementing the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, many federal statutes. In New York City, the Department of Environmental Protection is mainly a water utility. So we protect and serve everyone's drinking water. It comes from all the way upstate New York in the Catskills. It's like basically tapping spring water. And there's 19 reservoirs. Anyway, it's a complex system that I'll go through in a second. So the priorities are basically delivering reliable and safe drinking water. Also, when you flush the toilet, that you don't have to think about it. DEP is there to take care of it. We whisk it away, make sure that your wastewater is then treated, and we protect the harbor and our waterways when we discharge into the water. Of course, lately, in the past few decades, protecting New Yorkers from flooding, from stormwater runoff, and the huge storm events that we see from climate change. We also have a piece of regulating air, noise, and hazardous materials. So some of the demolition projects, there may be asbestos in a building. We would give the permit for that. Next slide. And of course, I'm bringing a little bit of my lens, which is excellence in operations and critical services. We really want to maintain this system that's over 100 years, and we want to make sure that we're servicing New Yorkers. Community engagement and advancing climate and environmental justice. This is just my passion. I walk and breathe equity and justice. So bringing this piece and really getting out and meeting with communities, coming to meetings like this to talk about our work. And in the vein of kind of environmental justice is getting rid of lead service lines. Unfortunately, in some of the older cities, we still see lead pipes going from the municipal lines or from the city lines into the homes. And so there was a lot of money that came from the federal government to replace those lead service lines for drinking water. And so I'm going to seize the opportunity. We still have that federal funding. And so we're going to work really hard to make sure that we get to homeowners. And of course, with all the community board members here, talk to homeowners for us to trust that we want to only walk into your house to change the lead service lines. So hopefully we'll be working with many folks across the city to get into homes and replace those lines. And then of course, just internally, making sure that the workforce is happy and healthy and safe. We have a lot of people out in the streets in the cold and the heat, and just making sure that they continue to be safe. Next slide. Okay, so like I said, over 100 years ago, some geniuses, engineers said, the water in New York City is dirty. And so we're gonna tap this wonderful Catskill Mountain spring water and figure out a way to bring it all the way down to New York City. So that's like 125 miles up north. When people say, I want to go get some fresh spring water, all you have to do is turn on the tap. Don't have to travel all the way upstate, but it's an amazing system of 19 reservoirs and lakes. There's an aqueduct and a tunnel that goes under the Hudson River. It's all driven by gravity. Mainly 95% is by gravity. And so it's just this amazing complex system of how we get our tap water. And that's why I always say we want to maintain that system for the generations to come. Next slide. There's about, we have about 7,000 miles of water mains. So it comes down, there's a reservoir in Hillview and Yonkers, if people know that. And then it breaks up into 3 tunnels that distribute the water into New York City. And even, yes, all the way out to Staten Island. We also have 100 fire hydrants that we maintain. And we do bill people for their water services. So there is a water rate every year. We work with all of you to figure out what the what a good number would be for that water rate to make sure that we can deliver the water safely and securely. Next slide. The other thing I just wanted to mention, because we are talking about Legionnaires and some of the issues, the scientists do test the water every single day. I think there's like 37,000 samples done every single year. And so we are working with the Department of Health on this issue and making sure that the tap water coming from upstate still is maintained and is safe. Okay. On the flip side of that, so we take it, we deliver it in, and then we help get rid of it. We treat about 1.3 billion gallons of wastewater each day, which is a lot. We operate 14 wastewater resource recovery facilities or wastewater treatment plants, and they're distributed throughout the city. And what we do is, this is one of a picture of the digesters at Newtown Creek. If folks are on the BQE, you may see it. We make sure to treat that, go through a primary, secondary treatment, and then we do discharge it into the waterways. But what we've seen, and maybe some of you have been out there watching the dolphins and whales, really helping to make sure that that water is clean. So we're part of cleaning up New York waterways. And it's really great to see the marine life returning back to New York City. Okay, next slide. I want to try to get to some of the questions. This is a fun project, very expensive, but we talk about coastal flooding and sea level rise. The city invested $2 billion, more, $3 billion in beginning to build these gates, almost like flip gates. So this is what it looks like when there's no hurricane. You can walk along the east side. Sorry. So it's just access to the waterfront and an amenity. And then if we hear that a hurricane is coming or a big storm, we can remove everyone. And then it flips up to protect lower Manhattan. And those are the new projects that we see. One is the East Side Coastal Resiliency Project, and the other is the Brooklyn Bridge Montgomery Coastal Resiliency Project. And we're hoping that we will be ready for hurricane season 27 to protect that whole area in lower Manhattan. So that's an exciting piece on our coastal flooding, preparing for climate change. You know, we have to prepare and adapt. That's it. Like we're not reversing anything anytime soon. So this is the investments that we're making. Next slide. This is another picture of the gates that we would pull out. So some are flip gates and the other ones come up. And this is the work that's going on. We're going to start testing them, getting crews out there to make sure they work. So you do protect Manhattan. Oh yeah, and then the other thing is thank you, because in the budget, we received money to bring on 60 new staff to train them and to help operate those gates. So thank you to the council and mayor for that budget. Next slide. The other thing, just quickly, we do, as I mentioned, permitting for asbestos. There is a citizens idling complaint program. In New York City, you can't idle for more than a minute. And so there's a law now that allows citizens to film someone idling for more than a minute, and that can be processed. And we found out that some of the top 5 people who are doing this, taking advantages, make a lot of money. And so they get something like 25% of whatever the penalty is. And so this was really a way to say, we can't be out there enforcing and making sure everyone's compliant. So let's get our residents and
How much money
citizens
they
to help.
make?
The top 5 are bringing in almost $500,000.
And some of them don't even live,
Yeah, they live in.
they live in Texas, Arizona, some people, not everyone.
Yeah, so there is a discussion of like how to improve it, how to make sure that that it's distributed around, if you stand in Midtown. You'll probably, but the effort was really this was a public health effort, right? Idling causes ozone pollution and other ground level PM pollution. So it really was.
I think everyone's discussing how they can get it.
Oh, yeah. So the point was to make sure that people shut off their engines. Anyway, so there's a discussion, especially with the heat wave and when it's too cold, are there like times when it wouldn't, we would waive it or something like that because people want to keep their cabins on or in trucks. For air conditioning or for heat. But the point was, it was really a public health driven regulation. And so the hope is that people are turning off their engines rather than people making money off. So we're gonna try to increase that awareness of what the program is. And then just some of our hazmat programs, helping make sure that we get rid of any hazardous waste. Okay, next slide. Oh, noise monitoring, that's another one. Construction sites, we have noise monitors around. Call 311 with complaints, we'll come out and respond. In Manhattan, besides the, we talked about the east side floodgates. This is $8 million to build infrastructure to reduce flooding in Inwood up in Upper Manhattan and enhance water distribution. And fire safety, $150 million to upgrade the Harlem Mere in Central Park to save water and reduce stormwater flooding. Against anything that we can do that combines improving or upgrading a system, but also helping to reduce stormwater flooding. We are all in. $37 million to upgrade the Canal Street sewage pump station, which takes the sewage from Manhattan and pumps it to Newtown Creek and Brooklyn. So we really want to make sure that continues to operate. And $595 million to improve engine efficiency and reduce emissions at the North River wastewater resource recovery up in Harlem. I started out working on the North River Park years ago with an organization called We Act. They have been fighting to reduce emissions for decades. And so I'm really happy to join the effort again, making sure that we keep the air cleaner in Upper Manhattan also. Okay, so sometimes people say, well, what can we do to help? Next slide. So thank you. And one of the things that I will say, especially since we're in a heat wave, probably not the only one for the summer, please make sure that you are staying safe, obviously with the opportunities to use cooling centers, take care of our elders, knock on our neighbor's door, make sure everyone's staying safe. But also one of the things that happens with high heat is sometimes you get the combined thunderstorms that come, and sometimes that creates flash flooding. So one of the things that we're also asking people is we maintain the storm drains or catch basins, and sometimes they're covered with litter or leaves. Help us clear them out, call 311 if you see that puddling is happening around one, we'll come out and check if it's working. So that again, when it rains, it's properly draining. We want the system to work.
What was the word you used? Cuddling?
Operating, what? Oh, catch basin.
Ponding,
Not cuddling.
ponding.
I think that in a heat wave, you should cuddling. Cuddle.
Oh,
No, I didn't do that.
What was it?
No.
Cuddling. Oh, I thought I heard cuddling. I was like, I've never heard that.
I am a big fan of cuddling too, in all weather, but no, that, yeah, so sometimes it's just, the flooding or pooling or puddling.
There's a
in the
lot of
area.
pooling. We've
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
cuddling
Puddling.
in parts of Manhattan. What should we do?
Yeah.
Like what's the first, is it 311? Is it?
311, because that way we get a record of it. And that way, if we go and maybe clear it with the Department of Sanitation or us, and it's clear, we don't see anything else, that's fine. But sometimes if we get these reoccurring 311 calls for the same intersection, it means maybe we need to go in and fix the catch basin. And the mayor just announced over $100 million to modernize those catch basins. So you can call us at DEP or call your representative, but really we want people to call 311, so that way we're tracking it.
If we created a map of
Yeah.
Manhattan problematic catch basins, would that be helpful?
Yes, that, we spoke to Gail Brewer, and they're gonna, her office may also try to do that, Councilwoman, yeah. So if you have a map or know of problematic intersections, definitely let us know. Yes, go ahead.
I wanted to ask about that because we've got several in Community Board One, but they're also adjacent to buildings with scaffolding. And we've been told that you can't fix the catch basin until the scaffolding goes away.
Yeah.
And the conversations between DEP and DOT.
Okay.
So I just wanted to check on that. I know it sounds dumb to ask for it to be done twice, but we have no way to actually force the building operator to repair their building. And yet we're catching flies, literally.
Yeah, so if there's a way that someone can safely go out and remove some of the litter, that's helpful. We wouldn't be, my understanding is because of structural safety and worker safety, that there may be an issue with actually going in and removing the whole system while there's some building maintenance, but we can, but still let us know, because there may be something we can do. Yeah, so we would love to do that. Yeah, oh wait, yeah, before I get to questions, the other thing is, please go to, I don't work at EPA anymore, but EPAairnow.gov. Tell your friends and your family, especially the elder, it tracks air quality, and right now it's unfortunately it's working really hard, because we're getting things like pictures that look more like this, spikes and stuff. And so we just want to make sure that people understand, if during the afternoon air quality is really bad, that the people that need to.
So this is the best source.
Yes.
For constituents to.
Yes.
See, so we should definitely share that on social and other.
Yeah, so I've been trying to talk to NICEM to share it. It's just a cool little app, like right now. Well, I was tracking for my parents, Teaneck, New Jersey. It's moderate and it's in this yellow area, but here it says the forecast is going up to 200. So my parents should go to the diner early and get at home. But this is the kind of information that you get.
Can you say what the site is?
Oh, yeah, it's EPA Air Now. Yeah, and so I have the app, you can look it up online also, but anyway, I just wanted to share that.
So it's an app that people can have on their phones.
Yeah, we're dealing with the Canadian fires, and so, okay, so I had questions, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, first, I just want to give a shout out to Martin Fitzhugh.
Yes. Oh my God, and I'm here, party, my partner with everything in that, and has been covered. It's amazing.
You are amazing.
If I may very quickly, just on the ponding stuff, a lot of this too is DOT milling and grading, right? So. So a lot of this, right, we always try to get out there, clear and clean the catch basins, look at them, if there's a malfunction, we fix it. A lot of the times, the best case scenario, we have a catch basin that has an issue, we come out with DOT. If it's on them to do the milling and grading of the street, and it's not an issue of the catch basin itself, it's more of the water coming into it, completely separate conversation. So, ones that we can address, it's quicker for us to. DOT's a little more, takes them a longer time, not because they're bad or anything, it's just, well, no, it's because of the permit, they have to get capital funding to do those repairs, so if it's a catch basin malfunction, it's a lot cheaper and easier for us to fix.
Permeable pavement.
for Manhattan.
In some areas with,
Yeah.
there's the tree pits and those areas.
Can't do it.
No, the catch go down pretty deep and so capture a lot and then hopefully the water's flowing through, but if it's clogged. Or this later, where the mayor and I were at it, out in, was it Knickerbocker Road after the
Oh,
flood,
yeah.
like, there was a
Bushwick.
tennis ball in there. And plastic bottles, so they go pretty deep, but the point is, well, one, don't litter, but also, when we can, we'll try to just clear out that whole thing. And so when they're good and clean, they work pretty well, yeah.
That's all I want.
Okay, thanks, yeah, I would agree.
There may be in my area a misconception around what DEP's role is when it comes to noise enforcement.
Yeah.
So like, for example, in public plazas where there's an event that's permitted and may go louder than the residents were anticipating.
Yeah.
Where is the line between DEP's enforcement and then where it turns to, let's say, NYPD?
So the NYPD sometimes will give a permit for the event itself. But for open air, I don't know what type of event, but for open air stadiums, they're supposed to shut down around 10 p.m. I think some of the stadiums have waivers from that. And then we would come in and test or sample the noise if it goes beyond, or sometimes tenants call us and we'll go in or homeowners and test the noise.
You would issue
So
like a
we
ticket for the
issue
permit?
a summons, yeah. You'd still have to go through oath, our trial and hearings office to, go through that whole process, but we have issued summons before, yeah. So if you have an area or events that are spiking, I mean, unfortunately, the city also loves its summer events and it does get loud, but the point is that they're supposed to try to shut down. Yeah, so if you wanna write close with or share with Marty some maybe problematic venues, we can look into that.
Anthony, are you
Yeah.
referring to Quisqueya Plaza?
Yes.
So the Quisqueya Plaza situation's a little, there are some nuances, right? Because you have a DOT plaza. NYPD did issue an amplified sound permit last season. And then, of course, we get noise complaints. So we're all trying to figure out a way to kind of jointly enforce. If it's just music from a public assembly, typically PD gets called out to them.
Yeah, and the Councilmember De La Rosa has been working on this issue.
If it's
Kind of like nonstop.
yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I was just.
It's a little hard. Okay.
But it's something.
Yeah.
So what's the next step on this? Because we have gotten so many complaints. Council member has CB 12, Marielle lives in the neighborhood, so she can tell you chapter and verse.
Yeah.
What do we do?
I mean, we could talk to the people hosting the events. Like we worked in Forest Hills and out in Coney Island and they fixed some of the speakers or the noise canceling equipment. I don't know what it was. So maybe there's a way to do both, a little bit of both. Yeah, so why don't, maybe we'll just have an offline conversation for that particular.
But I was just more curious broadly.
Yeah, we do enforce
Like
the
for
most
public
of, yeah.
If Padre Pio was, or if that restaurant Padre Pio was making, they had loud music. And someone lives upstairs, that would go directly to us, because what we would do is if they had an act. We would take readings upstairs in the complainant's apartment.
Yeah,
Quisqueya is a little different because, sorry.
311 has an infinite amount of
Yeah.
data on this.
Yeah.
Calls.
Yes.
All right, yeah, I'll come up to speed on that.
Yeah, Marty and I have been in touch very.
Okay, okay.
Over the last, and so we'll, I'll do that conversation.
Roberto Galarza from our team, he's been involved with this for many years, and I think there's been a consensus issue just with the elected officials and the community board as well.
Yeah.
But when you do that reading in an apartment, I'm assuming you take out like other sound, like ambient sound from like nearby thoroughfares, or is it just?
Typically not outside noise, typically it's from a live event inside of a building or an organized stadium, right? Like Forest Hills.
Certain level, like if it's the base or the DBZ, I think, there's a way that would block out other sound. And it's just capturing whatever that base sound. And so those are some that we've seen, yeah.
Thank you.
We have to get access, but yeah. And City Hall has asked us to try to work with both the venue and the community member to figure out what some of those fixes are, so let's take another crack at it, yeah.
I see Niles and then maybe one or two more hands. I also want to acknowledge that Councilmember Brewer is on the line. Thank you for joining us, Councilmember.
No, I just mentioned our meeting yesterday. Hi, Councilmember. Yes.
So I just had a question about protocols when it comes to adverse events, when it comes to water testing. Right now in the city, we have concerns over Legionnaires on the Upper East Side, and we have concerns with Legionnaires on West Island in the past. So are there any protocols in place between you and the Department of Health when it comes to adverse events such as this?
Yeah, so we've been working with Department of Health and Commissioner Martin on making sure that, one, it's not the source of tap water going into the building. And so that's the work that we're working on, and then if we're seeing that it is isolated buildings, even though it seems like more and more, but to work to flush out the system in those buildings uptown mainly. Taking more of a proactive measure of testing even before we hear if someone unfortunately got sick. And so the Department of Health is really leading that for us, but that's kind of the combination of making sure that it's not in the whole system, but that it's really, unfortunately in this heat, you may see more incidents of that. Was it like the bacteria can just grow in that heat and stagnant water? And so flushing the system, we spoke to someone yesterday who thought they may taste a little bit more of chlorine, is that what it was? And so we can't confirm it, but it sounds like maybe her building is testing and being flushed, so that's how we're working with them on that, yeah.
Thank you. And then Leslie, the last
Thank you.
question.
Commissioner, thank you for taking our questions.
Yeah.
Two things I just want to flag to you, and hopefully we can go offline too.
Okay.
I represent the district, which is Midtown Manhattan on the west side.
Okay.
And two things I just wanted to flag is one, we would love your partnership with the Manhattan Cruise Terminal. The pollution of the Manhattan Cruise Terminal.
Okay.
I know the EDC is heading that project and the transformation.
Okay.
But those cruise ships that are parked there have been registering some of the, it gives us some of the dirties there.
Yeah.
Exactly, in all of New York City. And we've been actually aching for someone at the end, you know what I mean, to kind of partner with us.
Okay, no, that's important, yeah. Yes,
Okay, the second thing is we've been asking, I don't know if this is in your bailiwick, but electric vehicle charging stations.
Charging stations,
Yeah, I know that's a state thing as well, but I don't know, we're looking for spots for public. And
funding to build them out or
just positioning them.
Yeah.
Where they
Well,
should
we
be.
work closely with DOT. I think actually I'm running to a meeting now with them, but maybe we can mention that.
Those are the only two things that.
Like reducing emissions and building the stations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Good luck, interns. We look forward to seeing you in the area.
They'll be running the show.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be bringing them. Yeah, Marty, you're not really have here.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Marty.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll connect you, Ashley. I'll connect you too. Marty knows all of this. Yeah.
Right, thank you.
Take care, Marty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right. We're now gonna move to our next agenda item. And it is the proposed resolution conditionally supporting New York City's implementation of the Mayor's Public Restrooms Initiative. There is a copy in everyone's folder. It was also circulated. And with that, I'll give the floor to Anthony.
Thank you. Yeah, so I circulated a resolution that I chatted with a number of our chairs about. I think the resolution itself is largely self-explanatory, but in summary, at the beginning of the year, the mayor announced an initiative to increase the number of public restrooms throughout New York City. And was able to secure, I believe, $4 million for the project. About a month and a half ago, there was an additional announcement made that they are moving forward with a vendor to do these modular restrooms. But have not yet announced the exact locations of where they will be placed. were constructed. All we know is that 17 of them are being put up throughout the city. Now, that said, I can speak on behalf of Community Board 12, and I believe it's the case with many of my partner community boards that we haven't yet received any outreach from DOT or parks about where these could be located. My initial thinking was to do a resolution supporting the initiative and then expressly stating where each of our community districts would like to see these restrooms. However, I think there needs to be, and based on my conversations with many of you, there needs to be more than that. I think more correspondence with DOT and parks. So what we're doing here is, of course, I think it's hopefully a supportive idea to, yes, have more public restrooms. So I do want to support this initiative. I think many of us do, but on the condition that based on the timeline they provided in early fall, DOT and parks comes to our boards and speaks to the community about where these should be located in particular. So this conditionally supports the initiative, but then on the condition that they come to our. Yes.
I guess my philosophical question is like, why, right? If it's is the real point you're saying is like you want them to come speak to us. Like if it wasn't for that part, we wouldn't write a letter because it's just happening anyway. Or else for bathrooms.
Yeah.
We're doing it only because we want them to come speak to us.
Yeah, and I think like from my experience working with these agencies, when you at least initiate the conversation with some level of support, it makes sense. But that's sounds good. So I think that's my thing is good. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Alex. Tammy?
I could not ask for this to be done quick enough. I encourage all of you to use the bathroom before you leave this office. Because there is no place else around City Hall that you can use the bathroom. And if that says anything about this initiative, it's sort of astounding that you, the jewel of our city, and including this building, does not allow the public anywhere to use a bathroom anywhere around City Hall. You try and go to Starbucks, there's a big old sign that says bye, it's a pay to play for a bathroom. So as quick as they could build them, as fast as they could get out into the neighborhoods. I'm in.
Any other comments? CB5? Remind me of name again, David?
I mean, maybe to broaden the issue also, we've been looking at issues like zoning bonuses for public space where a bathroom is not provided. We've had some conversations with DCP about that, about actually now going in and working on the code so that if you're gonna get a very valuable bonus, you should be providing public restrooms in that space. In the work that we've been doing with DOT, most recently on Broadway Vision, particularly the area around Madison Square, where they want to do a lot of improvements and bring in one of the bids as a concession operator. We said you should be providing a bathroom there as well. Might not happen right away because of plumbing issues, but with the technology that's being proposed by the mayor on this, it would work there as well. So there are multiple opportunities. There are also structures in place where you could pay a private owner of a restroom to make it available publicly as well. So, we 100% support this, but we also think there's a number of ways to cut the issue to make more right.
And I would just say that at the Borough President's office in the Land Use and Planning Division, we're on the exact same page, backing up what the community board has said in the Flatiron Nomad Maker concessions application, and also advocating for public restrooms to be not just bonus, but maybe required for certain zoning actions.
Victor?
Thank you, Anthony, for this. A few months back, they came out to say where they were they did a photo op, mayor said where they're gonna put the bathroom on 12th Avenue. I met with them maybe a few days before and I said, you're coming out to tell us where you're gonna put it, not to get our recommendation. And where they were putting it, I thought was a high risk area. It's very dark on that side of 12th Avenue. And I said, if you come to us, I would recommend it closer to the pier where people congregate quite a bit. They used to use the Beerway bathroom, it's no longer there. And now they have nowhere to go, but to put it in a back alley almost doesn't make sense. So,
Hence the lid.
yes, thank you.
Are there any amendments? It sounds like there are none. Any other additional comments? If not, we'll go for vote.
Call question.
Second. Okay. can we do this by? Can we do this unanimously?
Yeah.
If there are no objections, or,
We can do I nay, but
okay,
twice give it a roll call.
okay, fine.
Yeah.
CB one?
Oh, yeah.
CB two? CB three? CB four?
Yes, and thank you, Dan.
CB five?
Yes.
CB six?
Yes.
CB seven?
Yes.
CB eight?
Yes.
CB nine? CB ten?
Yes.
CB 11? CB 12?
Yes.
Good. Passes. Thank you. I'll work
One
with.
in every corner. I mean, yes, it's-
Thank you.
So we'll formalize it. Yes, it is. All right. Thank you. And then on that note, I do just want to say, for the resolution that was passed at June's Borough Board, I did not receive any comments. So today, Anthony, John and I will be working to submit that for public record as well. So just wanted to formalize that for your information. All right, as the borough president said earlier this morning, we did want to talk just a little bit about, and I'm actually going to see if, I think the council member may have dropped off. To talk a little bit about a possible construction safety task force. My understanding is that there was something similar under Gail Brewer when she was borough president. I think obviously because of what happened at the former Pfizer building, there were concerns, and obviously across the borough, there's construction happening just about everywhere you look. So we do want to create just a little bit of space to talk about your thoughts on this, what this could look like. So with that, I open the floor. Tammy.
So I'm gonna hark back to post 9/11. We had an LMCCC that was run by Louis Sanchez. And it was the most effective form of government I have ever seen in living in Lower Manhattan in 30 years. And it was Lower Manhattan. And it looked at and all the construction projects around a certain zone and coordinated them. So it was a command construction center. And so you wouldn't have necessarily on Greenwich Street. I'll use Vesey, it's a perfect example. You didn't have one agency coming and going, okay, ripping up all of Vesey Street, fixing something, putting back the street, and then the next agency coming. They actually coordinated so the street got opened and everybody got in and out. And they worked on the permits, so it wasn't night after night after night of late night permits. It was actually coordinated, which was incredible. And that actually led to a greater sense of safety in the community, as well as access. And it stopped it from being what it is. I mean, it's insane right now to try and get around, or if you're, I don't care if it's by car, by bike, or, on foot, it's really. So if we can find a way that could have a more holistic look, I think that would be incredibly impactful. And that doesn't even go into, like the night permit thing for people who live here. I mean, I've got agencies who have told us that they would only be working during the day. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, there's noise outside the windows and people are not happy. And they don't feel that they have actually as large of advocacy support as they could have.
Thank you. Alex?
Are you envisioning there's one at the Manhattan Borough President? Cause like we spin up one when there's a big project, like we have one right now with Excel, where the developer comes, people come, Marty came, shout out to Marty. So you're saying there'd be one at the Manhattan, cause that seems like that would be crazy overration. Like I think we spin it up when we have like a big project or enough complaints about one person, one site. And then we shut it down X months later when we feel it's a project.
Thank you for that. I mean, I think right now it's just like exploring what it could look like, right? It could be, and this is why it's a conversation, right? It could be something quite broad where it's just like overall standards, right? In terms of like night permits and like really encouraging coordination and things of that nature. But also recognize that our borough is very different, different neighborhoods and things are happening all across the borough, so really open to your thoughts and conversations.
It might be the place that you spin it up to, right? Like it could also structurally just be that, the place that where if any community board is having an issue or seeing an issue, we bring it up here.
Also.
Which is just a thought, but it's a good point that you raise up, so.
Valerie and then Anthony.
Well, I think, you know, we have the same thing, especially with any project that we've approved via ULURP. There's always a construction task force that cleans up with that. And I think there's this natural issue between these projects that are projected to take 6 and 7 years. And then are they really projected to take 6 to 7 years? Because then we get a commitment from the developer, construction, that, you know, they're only gonna work from 7 to 7, and then the next week they file a permit for every single week of the following year to go till 10, 11 o'clock at night. And so, and the rules for allowing that are fairly discretionary in terms of, you know, you only have to file the permit by Wednesday for Saturday construction. You know, we have this issue right now with MSK building their pavilion. And we've got some pretty strong community advocates who, by the way, have noise monitors in their apartments. I know this because I get an email every single day on the noise level, et cetera, et cetera. So, but then you say, hey, look, do you want them to be there for 10 years or would you be discomforted for 5 and get them out of there? So there's this constant push and pull. But the other thing is, and I don't, you know, this goes back to the conversion issue. This idea of self-regulation is really troubling. I've never understood it. I don't even understand it from minor renovations that an architect can come into DOB and self-certify as to his own project and that it meets all the standards. And I really think that's where this starts. And I believe that it's really a function of the city not really having enough people on the ground at the beginning to really evaluate these projects from the get-go. And, you know, for any renovation, whether it's a conversion from commercial to residential, anybody who's done a renovation always knows that it's more tricky. All you have to do is watch Chip and his wife on Fixer Upper to see that when you open up a wall, you are constantly faced with something that you didn't know was gonna be there.
I was about to say, Joanne is the worst one.
It's all right. And the little chip block goes by the wayside because they found some structural problem that, you know, can't be solved. So like, in a way, I don't even understand why it was like amazing that they would open up this project and find out that there was this problem. I mean, if you go back in time and you look at the Citicorp Center, somebody who was doing their thesis at Princeton, it just happened upon the fact that there was a real structural problem and there was a storm coming. And they literally had to evacuate Midtown, right? I mean, I'm going back in time because it wasn't built properly. And when the storm was gonna come, it was literally gonna cause this domino of destruction in Midtown. It's really very interesting, but it happens more than I think people are aware of. And so if the construction task force is to really look at the systems that we have in place, I think that would be very helpful. But also having, since we have so many construction projects, to really have localized people on the ground. Like I live on the corner of 72nd and 2nd. We have 4 buildings going up on my 3 corners right around here. It is a construction zone. And you don't have to be somebody with an architectural background to know that some buildings are looking better in terms of their construction and safety than the others. And I also really think we need to look at the fact that there aren't a lot of union workers on these projects. And that has to be looked at. I was background 1, so I'll stop there.
Thank you, Valerie. Anthony, and then one more hand. I'm available on email and we kind of continue to explore this. I also will be following up with kind of Gail's former team as well to kind of get a better understanding of how they did and what their thoughts were. And I'll be kind of responding to that. So.
I think one action item, just taking away the Pfizer building issue, where this task force could be creating a plan, A liaison with nearby buildings, and B, some kind of evacuation plan. I have family members who work for CUNY. CUNY Central office is right next door to the Pfizer building. They were closing the streets, New York Times was reporting on this, they were still in that building. It took hours before they decided to evacuate the building, and they were evacuating by floors, it depended on which office manager was on which floor. There were employees going around the barricades on 43rd Street to go into the office because they hadn't heard anything. I think if there was some kind of plan, the moment the reporting started, that could have all been avoided. I was hearing stories of people not wanting to interrupt the chancellor's meetings, meanwhile, there's a building potentially collapsing next door. So like there should be some kind of like protocol in place that it doesn't seem like exists, and perhaps this task force could help develop that and make sure it's distributed to, it's not just city agencies or groups like CUNY, but to really everyone.
Yeah, no, agree, I think, yeah, the general public, right? Tammy, and then, okay, Tammy, just because you've spoken on this, if it's okay, I'll go 5 and 6, and then Tammy, and then we'll move on.
Just briefly, I think we could use the help with some of the other agencies, MTA comes in and does, an elevator installation. We had one at 14th Street, 6th Avenue, and 7th Avenue, it's a multi-$100 million project. And these agencies have their own methods to provide community contact or not. And so, we've tried to get involved at the agency level on some of these projects, and it's harder for us as an individual community board to do that than it would be, if we were acting under the borough president's umbrella as well. And I just, I throw it on MTA, but we have this DOTP is doing a huge water line replacement down 7th Avenue that affects everything. And they actually did a good job of coming to us and to the other community boards and explaining what the impacts were, but it's such a huge project. And we have enough turnover that it's hard to stay current on these projects. So I think those would be other examples where we could use the help.
That's super helpful, thank you. And sorry, I didn't catch your name, Justin, and then you're David, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Justin, go ahead. Thank you.
So I was gonna say is that, so the Pfizer building is in my district, and when this happened, I didn't know much about how the whole DOB process works, certification, application, all of that. So I went to go look, and there's a whole like 7-stage process: filing, plan examination, permitting, construction, enforcement, sign off. The reason I'm bringing that up is because really every stage of this, there could be, I think it's worth looking into, just getting a sense of, are there any friction points in the stages? Is anything happening that could be made more efficient, or made, that's actually that there's no errors or anything? I know we're waiting for the report to come out, but I think looking at each stage and seeing, because if we get a good sense of what happened here, it's still worth seeing, other stages or part of the life cycle of construction to get a sense of where else there could be, to prevent a future problem.
Sure, thank you, and then Tammy, last point, you saw the front of this?
Yes, sorry, I got lost for a second. Having been a CV that had a collapse in it, because we have the garage collapse. There's one of the things that people don't recognize afterwards. Once the notification goes to non-city agencies, we actually lost half the residents who lived, there were all families and schools in the buildings next door because they couldn't get information about, they couldn't get into their buildings to get their belongings, but people were allowed to get into the garage. So the public side of when actually something does go wrong didn't go great with any kind of understanding and recognition that this is a family, they need their clothes, they need their belongings, they have kids who were going to school. And there was somehow a real connection to life as we know it versus just DOB. I mean, after 9/11, we got escorted into our buildings to get belongings, and you could wait and come back in and get, so there was a way to retrieve things. And my building was specifically one of the ones that was blown apart. So I know that there's a way.
I've experienced it, but the city doesn't do it.
Okay.
And I think that that is something that's critically important. Because it's not only about the people who are, may or may not be in that building, but it's everybody around. And what are the assets that they need to be able to maintain life, to stay in the city, or go someplace else, because the Red Cross isn't, that's not that.
Yeah.
GOP's been allowing access to buildings under vacant orders for the FISA buildings.
Yeah. Great, thank you. So again, happy to receive additional feedback and input via email. If possible, no later than Monday, so give everyone a couple of days for that, to kind of think it through and share your thoughts, and then we can come back with what that may look like and kind of continue the conversation. Thank you. All right, with that, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our community board chair reports, please, no more than 3 minutes. Let's be succinct. As always, you can always, as I always remind you, you can always share your reports ahead of time with Dawn or afterwards for the inclusion of the minutes. And with that, we will start with CB1, Tammy.
Okay, it's quick as I can talk. First, I want to do a shout out to CECM for the month of July. The navigation of Sailport 250, July 4th, and FIFA. On top of the regular local events, films, parades, etc., was extraordinary.
Truly.
We had a huge number of frozen zones over the week. This year, the community board works super closely with them to mitigate impacts on small businesses and residents in that zones, and I could not have been able to do that, Lucy and I, without their help. I mean, just amazing. I want to thank the borough president for joining us with his testimony and public comments on the work proposed at Independence Deposit during the environmental assessment. This developed from my colleagues, is a non-ULURP modification to a large-scale residential development, 1,000-foot 72-story tower with no guarantee of on-site portable housing. It's a complex issue for another day. This month, we received our FOIL information for the RFP for 100 Gold, which is again a long project. We began the process to educate and review based on our 25 resolution, the RFP and the accepted GFP project proposal. This is supposed to have approximately 3,000 units of housing, anywhere from 750 to about 900 affordable units. We've learned a lot, look forward to the ULURP in the fall, but there are many aspects to understand, comment, and review. One of the largest topics we have this month is how we can move the dialogue to ensure that there's a mix of housing that supports long-term community building and a greater diversity of the size of apartments, including a better mix so that 91% of the building is not studios and 1 bedrooms. We have school facilities and we.
Oh, hold on. Sorry, just pause.
Okay, we have school seats and we have facilities to support families, and we are greatly hoping that that mix can be changed. In time for 9/11, we are again urging the mayor's office to release any and all documentation for the boxes. Literally critically important for research and information on what was known about the health impacts on 9/11. On a related topic, World Trade Center Health Program, new policies have been put in place that are ridiculous. If people asking a child to understand their medical and what they were told at the age of 2 is unreasonable.
30 more seconds.
Upcoming next week, we have our long-awaited Canal Street redesign with CB2, a presentation for the force west of Broadway to 9A, really excited. And we have reports, which is very complex, about the Northwest Battery Park City Resiliency Project for the environmental monitor coming up. And when you talk about construction and impacts, we've got vibration, we got noise, we got air quality, and we have no public seating anywhere because it's all been removed. So I'd love some help in the borough president's office on that, and that'll take us through like 3 minutes.
Thank you. And again, please do share your written reports. We do ask, because obviously we realize there's so much happening across each of your community board districts. So thank you. We do not have CB2, and CB3 is also not present. So Leslie, over to you.
Thank you, Muriel. We have 4 points here. I usually do the top 3, but it's top 4. The NYCHA FEC, which I'm always talking about. That rad pack. So recently, as last week, the project was on pause for a while. There was a lawsuit moving through the New York Supreme Court, and it was decided this past week that the not in favor of the plaintiff. So our rad pack is going forward. There's going to be many lawsuits in between, I'm sure. And anyone who's going to go through it, you will see. But this was about relocation of tenants. So what they're doing is they're taking, unfortunately, the elderly at first and then moving those to demolish that building first, and that was what the lawsuit was. So just FYI for the Borough President's Office as well, we were all put on pause for that. I think our big ask on this with the Borough President's Office, but mostly it was really for the mayor's office, and we were in contact with them, and they didn't really want to engage publicly until this lawsuit was over. I wouldn't say it's over, but at least there was some sort of conclusion with this particular one. So we would hope that we can re-engage with the mayor's office on this as well, because we really think that they need to be taking a central role in imparting information on this red pack. The second thing I know is touched upon, homeless and drug selling encampments. There's one that's been in the news in our district a lot. It's the one at the Intrepid. I was contacted by every single news outlet under the sun about this. We are doing a walkthrough of it today. And I think there's one thing that I do want to mention. So the mayor has instituted a 7-day policy that it's outreach for 7 days, which is fine, but the problem with this is that after the 7 days, the encampment can move literally a few feet down the street or around the block and the clock starts ticking again. So there's no, what are we doing here? How are we really addressing the problems on the street? That is a huge, huge issue for us. Another thing I'm throwing, hopefully for help from the Borough President's Office. 2 other things, very excited, because we always talk about housing. We have 2 big projects that the state just announced. One is Bayview Women's Correctional Facility, which is across from Chelsea Pier. The other is the Intrepid parking lot. Both state sites are being transformed into new housing sites. Both these locations have been advocated by us, CB4, as potential sites for a long, long time. So we're glad that the state is kind of moving on that. One is going to be, both have an affordability component. The Bayview actually has a supportive housing component. And the one interesting thing here that might be a template, and you would probably let us know, the Intrepid site is going to have affordable ownership. So there's going to be like 50 or so units for ownership and affordability. So that's gonna be an interesting, component that we'll look at as well. And that's about 1,100 plus new units. And our last thing is I just want to thank you guys and thank whoever we CB4 has supported the option of through running for Penn Station. And that's been kind of a big thing for us, along with many other things for Penn Station. But I'm actually, in addition to the encampment meeting I'm going to today, I'm also going to the Penn Station working group today. It's gonna be our, yeah, are you gonna go? Okay, it's gonna be our first meeting in a while. But thank you.
We'll have somebody at the walkthrough as well.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Right,
yeah. Okay, good.
Yes, we'll all have to be represented. Wonderful, okay, David, CB5.
I think I'll start with Penn Station. A lot of the through running issue, we have kind of a more nuanced view of what might actually happen on that. We have kind of a more nuanced view on the block 780 issue. The one thing that we're really concerned about that is not currently part of the project is public realm improvement. There was a lot of work done as part of the GPP. There's a very workable plan that would be a great place to start. And so far, Amtrak's view of this has been that this is a city and state issue. It's not part of their project. And there's no way we can do these 2 things separately. They have to be one project. So we are trying, there's actually a meeting that'll be happening. I think CB4 and 5 will be represented in a week to discuss, what the status of the public realm discussion is. But we'd like that to be broadened, and I think all of the electeds in the area should be aware of this, because we can't have a new Penn Station and no way to get into it. So that's, we'd like to promote that issue. I think the other issues ultimately will find their home as the studies are completed. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about, we have 27 DOT projects in our district currently. We are doing a lot of coordination on those between CDs 4, 5, and 6. The Lexington Avenue bus lane, we coordinated with CB8. And so that's been a great model for how we can interface with DOT, get into the process earlier so we see things before they're too late. And at the same time, we've been supportive of things like the 34th Street busway earlier than DOT was expecting. So I think that made the whole process work a lot better. And the one thing I do want to mention here as an issue that we're still grappling with is the Sixth Avenue bike lane extension from Herald Square basically to Central Park. We approved, and we had pushback from the Fifth Avenue Association, Bryant Park did, and some property owners on Sixth Avenue. And we ultimately decided a lot of this is related to the fact that the Fifth Avenue redesign does not have a bike lane. And so they were trying to make a home for a bi-directional bike lane on Sixth Avenue, which we're against. So we think the whole issue of where is the Fifth Avenue design going needs to be brought up to the surface again. There was a public pass, it's kind of disappeared for a while, and it'll be coming back. But in our case, the bike lane issue needs to, I mean, we see this as something that should be happening from, Harlem down to the tip of Manhattan. Fifth Avenue is a great way to introduce bikes to Midtown. And is not currently being addressed in that.
I think that Fifth Avenue. They're in heavy conversations with DOT still, and I think they're still, I'm trying to think the best way to say this because it's recorded. We can talk offline, but but I would say that there's still options on the table that include the bikes and
Okay, great.
That's what I'll say.
Thank you. Anything else from TV5?
I think I used up my time.
Just about. Thank you. Okay.
Yes,
Justin, TV6.
Board 6, so just a quick summary of this month, we adopted several resolutions on housing, redevelopment of the former 30th Street men's shelter into a mixed affordable and supportive housing development, with an emphasis on serving low-income New Yorkers while incorporating community amenities. On transportation, we supported pedestrian safety improvements at the 23rd, 30th, and 2nd Avenue. We endorsed the Park Avenue vision plan to create a greener, more accessible, and pedestrian-friendly public space around Park Avenue. And we also supported landmark designation to other 5 historically significant buildings in our district, and also advocated for zoning changes. And finally, passed a resolution about addressing rising costs and declining availability of residential property insurance. And finally, we respectfully request that the mayor's office resume any regular attendance at our borough, at our CD6 meetings, having a representative present as often as possible, strengthens communication between city and borough community boards, provides valuable opportunity for direct coordination, and fosters more productive discussions on issues affecting our districts. Thank you.
Thank you. On that last bit, because I know it was a point of discussion last month around Office of Mass Engagement. So I actually now am starting to have every 2 weeks meetings with them. Just like as a touch point. And so if there are things that would be helpful for us as our office to escalate or bring to their attention, please let us know. My understanding is that it's still just one person for the entire borough of Manhattan, still just Ovi. And so they're hiring, I think he said to me last, he did say to me that hopefully they should have someone soon. So just wanting to put that out there, that you can see, use this as a resource if you need to get in touch with them. All right, Alex, over to you, CB7.
Our office space, which we've been in for like 20 years, we're month to month for 10 years, it's not great. And then DCAS, I was saying, so DCAS has been trying to get us to go to a new space. I think some people don't want to leave, but I feel like DCAS has been fine. I'm open to any other people who have had similar situations. Many things to watch out for. For new board members, I asked people what are their preferences, and I'm currently giving everyone like their first preference, but then making them for their second one go to some unloved committees. But there's definitely some unbalance, which I'm okay with, but previous chairs were not okay with. Like land use has like 3 times the number of people as everyone else. And so personally, I think that's a good thing because it shows that like this is where people are interested. People are less interested in BCI liquor license as an example. But I'm interested in others' thoughts for the future. But yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Alex. Valerie, CB8.
Okay, well, I'm gonna start out like I started last night, giving a shout out to our CB8 resident Madonna on having the #1 album in 61 countries. Oh my God. Shout out to our resident. Everybody is
All meeting.
everybody is working hard, that's all I have to say. But we had 800 Fifth Avenue come to us. We got a special permit in 1976 when the Board of Estimate was still around. And they were looking for a non-ULURP modification. And honestly, we declined it because they're going from 150 luxury rentals to 52 condos, which kills us as a district, once again, showing a reduction in the number of units that we have. And then they're taking 160 internal in-building parking spaces and reducing it to 90. This building is right above the congestion pricing zone. And we're not in favor of that, especially with containerization on the horizon, as well as a whole bunch of other things. And even though it's not specifically related to the waiver request they gave to us, we just felt that we have to take a stand. This housing issue, we don't see any community benefit from giving them this waiver that they were seeking. They kind of gave a polite threat that they would just abandon the special permit and then just do something new. But since they were relying on a permit they got from 1976, I really didn't take it as a real threat. And quite honestly, bring it on. I don't care. Then on the containerization front, there's going to be a hearing on July 27th conducted by the Department of Sanitation on their DEIS. I don't know if you're all aware of it, but we're reading the DEIS right now, and we're going to have a special meeting. You can submit written comments through August 6th. So we're going to have a meeting on August 3rd to kind of discuss it. I know that your district and mine are going to lose more than 10% of our parking spaces. And on average, it's 6% for the borough. So we think we need to look at that. We also are having an issue. We have a policy when we do outdoor dining of any kind that you're not supposed to be serving liquor after 10 o'clock, regardless of what the state liquor authority says. Most, if not all, sign our stipulation. I'm not 100% sure it's enforceable. I know this is being recorded, but we had somebody come and basically say that they wanted outdoor dining. And by the way, we haven't been following your policy for the last 30 years. Well, they were honest, but their honesty wasn't really rewarded because I was like, everybody else, they asked for a special permit. I'm curious what you all have in terms of your policies for outdoor dining. We have another issue with homeless shelters. I don't know how this got started, but somebody submitted their building on 3rd Avenue and is now ballooned into, we're gonna have drug addicts. And I mean, we have talked to DHS about this application every week. Their policy is just crazy. Anybody can submit their building for consideration as a homeless shelter. There's no timeline for them to consider it. And so I've got people coming to every single meeting telling me they've got 6,500 signatures on a petition and they want me to pass a resolution against the homeless shelter. There is no homeless shelter. I don't know what else to do. And I think it's really unfortunate that this is the way HSS is working. We're reaching out to them. We're reaching out to them to try to come to a meeting to explain what their process is. And then, seemingly we'll do something after that. Two last things. Our York Avenue construction project, which has been holding up a traffic study on York Avenue after 10 years, is finally done. Or, they've asked us to certify that the work is complete. I mean, that's like a joke in and of itself. But anyway, it's taken 10 years. If anybody who's gone on to the FDR Drive at 63rd Street has probably seen it sitting there. And they say they're finally done, although finally is not really accurate. But lastly, last night we had a report from a resident from the Holmes houses and to our representative over here, that there is a really bad garbage vermin problem. And she sent me pictures today. She quite honestly thinks it's in retaliation to the vote that happened at Holmes houses for the tenant conversion. And lastly, sorry, on the charging station pilot, we voted in favor of the 2 locations in our district, so long as the delivery services were responsible for paying for the batteries that the deliveristas couldn't afford to pay for on themselves. And we feel that this is really a service that we're doing in part for a private corporate entity, and they should at least pick up that charge. So that's that. Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Let's touch base offline on the homes.
Okay. Yeah, I got the
TAs. Yeah, those. Yeah, but please, let's touch base on that. And then on the public e-bike charging stations, you know that the public comment period, I think, is open until like the end of the month or something.
Right, yeah,
so
yeah, no, we're gonna
to
do
miss
that, but we also don't understand why they're not located like at the base of the Queensboro Bridge, at the tunnel, like, why are we putting them on sidewalks next to outdoor dining when, you know?
So yeah, so you can submit that in your comment to that.
We said they should be at the end of lift stations. Okay.
Great, thank you for your report. CB9, Victor?
Yes, good morning all. Starting off, last Tuesday, we were invited to the breakfast with the new Columbia University president. That was great to meet her and talk about some of our issues. One of the big issues still haunting us is the gates at Columbia being closed. And she said she would speak to us about that. So hopefully they can open the community back up so people can, transverse the walkway. So looking forward to that. I previously monitored the community benefits agreement with Columbia and West Harlem. So we're gonna be looking at that. A lot of it is ending soon, but some pieces are still intact. So she promised to sit down and talk to me about that as well. West Harlem Piers, which is located at 12th Avenue and 125th Street. We're working with 2 groups, the Harlem Rocket and Hudson River Sailing Community, to have them come there. Harlem Rocket will be a tour group that operates a boat similar to the Beast that comes out of the west side. And they'll give cultural tours. Hudson River Sailing Community is located at 26th Street now and was located at Dyckman. Dyckman is being renovated, so they're closed, so they want to come to 125th. And the big thing I like there, a lot of the sailing will be directed toward young people in the community learning how to sail. I was out with them 2 weeks ago sailing, got a good tour. What they be doing. And I met some alumni that are now working with them that were students previously. So that was great. This past Tuesday, I attended a ribbon cutting with Janus Properties. They're located on 126th Street. They have the Mink Building and Tasty Building. And they opened up a public courtyard between 125th and 126th Street, which is fantastic for people to come and just, kind of hang out and rest. So they've done a lot with the community, so we're really supporting them. Last year, they opened up one of the buildings on the main floor for a cultural event for West Harlem Arts Alliance. So they had several things there. So we commented just saying we like when people come and work with us, and very appreciative. So that was good. Riverside Viaduct. It's an ongoing menace, for lack of a better word. I do a morning walk up Riverside to the bridge and back, so I get a chance to look at it all the time. And one of the improvements they have made, I was talking to Anthony, is parking is a driveway for the ambulance to get to some of the buildings. They have cleared that out, DOT. And police have really cleared that out, so that was good. But this, it's going on and on for so long. Anthony is submitting an amicus brief. We're in favor of that. We'll work with him as well to get this project. It's eliminated parking, it's congestion, there's a lot of, can't enter many buildings directly on. You have to walk a block up and come back around because of the concrete barricades. We have a lot of seniors who live on Riverside and they complain about that to get deliveries.
Yeah.
You have to do that as well. So we're really pushing that. I spoke with Brad about that yesterday as well. So we're hoping to get some action on that.
30 more seconds.
Moving forward. Yesterday I had a great meeting with one of our elected officials. It went very well, and that person was Brad Hoylman-Sigal. It was good. It was a good meeting.
Thank you, Victor. No, we'll be following up on some of those, because he did give me a kind of a download of that discussion, so, yeah, no, thank you. All right, moving on to CB 10, please.
Sure, Dulcinea Glover, I'm reporting on behalf of our chair, whose name is Marquise Alexander Harrison. Alexander is not his surname. I'm gonna take a picture of that. I'm gonna take a picture of that, let them know that you all gave him a new last name. He sends his regrets for not being here, he had some traveling to do. So one of the things we reported last month was that we had a significant staff shortage. And we are pleased to announce that we have just hired and are onboarding our new assistant district manager. Clap. We started this past Monday, because the district manager is currently on medical leave. He wanted to have me ask the question if any of the chairs in this room would be willing to have any of the district managers sort of walk him through this is and coming to talk to you guys. Okay, great. So Marquise will probably reach out to you, but you should just put that up, make a note of that and get back to me if you want to do it soon, and I'll let him know that you have offered that assistance. That would be very valuable. We are, like many of our neighborhoods, we are also deeply concerned about recent gun violence that tends to happen during the summer months. And we recently sent a letter to the mayor calling for additional investment in community-based organizations, gun violence prevention organizations, and expand into more neighborhood that remains a major priority in our board. We are also in the process of onboarding our newest board members. We have a lot of them. And we will be doing a whole onboarding thing when over the summer. At the end of June, we held our annual summer reception where we recognized former board members, including past leaders, and gave them plaques and that sort of thing for their central hall and work. And throughout the summer, our primary focus is on our district needs statement. Our board members have been attending community events, speaking with residents, distributing information, and gathering feedback to ensure our priorities reflect who we serve. And we also want to stretch our presence throughout the district. Meaningful relationships with our community. We are really making an effort last year, this past year, to move forward, and move forward of getting more input from the community in the district survey, because that's what we do. Finally, Marquise would like to express his appreciation to everyone who has supported Community Board 10 during this period of limited staffing. He especially wants to thank Mariel and Niles for the assistance and partnership during the transition. As chairperson, he has spent time in the office helping with day-to-day operations. A lot of us are, and we are just trying to continue to provide the level of services to our community that they deserve. And thank you.
Thank you so much, Lysenia. And thank you. I did see kind of Victor, and I think I saw you, Valerie, as well, about supporting for the new assistant district manager. We also are here as well as a resource, right? We have a great, HR and operations team as well. Okay. And so if there are things that, Niles and I and our kind of the wider BP team can support with in the meantime, please let us know.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. All right, BP 12.
Thank you. So I will start with our June resolutions. We passed the resolution in conditional support of the DOT e-bike stations, with the condition being that DOT works with community stakeholders and the deliveristas to better determine the locations. Locations presented at our June Traffic and Transportation Committee meeting were all located in one specific corridor, not where there is commercial interaction. It's mostly residential. So that was that resolution. We passed two other resolutions, one opposing the DM term limits and the other calling on NYPD to better enforce against activity that would discriminate against our aging community, things like continuing to allow scooters on roadways, et cetera. We also passed a resolution allowing us to submit the amicus brief with respect to the viaduct project. We've also used part of our surplus from the last fiscal year's budget to hire outside counsel who will support in reviewing the amicus brief, actually conducting the service of process and submitting it for the commercial division of the Supreme Court. We also used part of our surplus to retain a outside consultant, Marjorie Perlmutter, who was formerly the chair of the BSA, who will be supporting us over the course of the next fiscal year with respect to land use and environmental traffic surveys, et cetera. So we're really excited about that. 2 interns we brought on from City College have begun their work for the summer. They are currently focused on building out a CD12 playbook, which will look at January through December, all the things that we should be doing and should be doing. We are also having one of them focus on a look back exercise, which in essence means they're looking at all of our resolutions from the past 2 years, aside from our licensing related ones, determining which need follow-up and actually conducting that follow-up with city agencies. We have one of them also working on a project with the Community League of the Heights to help them with outreach with respect to their business improvement district. There are efforts to try and establish one along Broadway, so they are supporting those efforts. We have a couple of events over the summer. We have a tabling event that's taking place at Shakespeare Harlem for Othello. That will be on July 25th. We have a block party that's taking place on August 8th. And then we also have a coffee and conversations we're doing in partnership with Ponce Bank on August 18th. That's more geared to our small businesses. We're currently planning a cookout as well, so stay tuned on that. July 28th is our committee of the whole, which is the meeting that we have over the summer where attendance isn't mandated but strongly encouraged, where we can get as many of our board members in the room as possible and past over the summer. We usually have some success reaching form. I'm hoping for the same this year. And with that, I will conclude that.
Thank you. Back with 3 minutes. Wonderful. So with that, that is actually the conclusion of all of our CB reports. Thank you. There's nothing else on the agenda.
Can I just, I skipped over Legionnaires. I don't know how I did that, but because I've been literally living and breathing it for the last couple of weeks. I just wanted to say, and I know Victor and Marquise have dealt with this last summer and took a lot of your comments from when you were talking about it to help us out. But since that time, you know, the city council has passed this law that buildings are supposed to be reporting on a monthly basis. And I just encourage each of you to, there's a database that shows if your building has a cooling tower at the top of it, and to make people more proactive about following up with their own buildings to make sure that they are actually doing the reporting. I mean, I know that I think a lot more is going to come out about whether these buildings have been inspected and whether they have actually filed the reports. But I think we should all be proactive in our districts because Legionnaires is here to stay. And with climate change and rising temperatures, we're not going to be the only districts that have this. I mean, luckily so far, no one has died from it. And I think a lot of that is just getting the word out. So people have symptoms, they get to a healthcare provider. But I think we can be really more proactive in our districts to make sure that people are looking at these buildings. I mean, I think we're going to find, and I do want to compliment our electeds who forced, in my opinion, force the Department of Health not to wait 2 weeks to get a really, really positive PCR test, but for any building that tested positive, whether you had live or dead Legionella, I know more about this than I ever wanted to be forced to clean up their building at ASAP. And, you know, maybe 76 buildings tested positive for live or dead Legionella. Maybe at the end of the day, it'll be one building that was actually the real source. But I think it's done a tremendous job in quieting a lot of the concerns of the community about how pervasive this has been. I mean, you're always gonna have the escalation of fear and unknown and nobody wants to get sick. But I think that we did something really good in terms of trying to cut this off at the pass. And I'm concerned about the heat right now, but I think we can all take a lesson from that and just encourage the buildings to be proactive and the residents who live in them to get the management to do something as well, so.
Yeah, I'll
Thank
say,
you, Valerie.
I think there's, the city reporter had something on which towers were non-compliant with the reporting regulations, something like 500 counties in the city are not doing this reporting. Or I think they might have had links to the databases, so I.
The database is pretty cool because most people don't even know that there's a cooling tower at the top of their building.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a database.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make sure that we can, thank you, Valerie, for that point. And with that, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting? Okay,
Second.
there's a second by Tammy, thank you. Our meeting is adjourned at 10.